Hi, welcome to GC Casual Friday from In the House. In the House is an organization that empowers in-house counsel to succeed in their careers and to better support their internal clients in the C-suite and the business units. So I'm Chris Colvin. I'm the founder of In the House. I'm also here with Nita Sanger, who's the COO of In the House. And we meet every Friday at noon Eastern time for GC Casual Fridays. So it is a casual format for general counsel and other in-house lawyers. And sometimes we have traditional networking meetings, but we also frequently have guest speakers. So I'm delighted today to have Stefanie Marrone, who's our guest speaker. Stefanie has a very distinguished career as a chief marketing officer. I think people primarily associate people like Stefanie with law firms, but I think it's really important that general counsel consider their own professional images and that they need to have a high profile among their peers at other companies, and they certainly need to exercise outstanding leadership capabilities within their company and to the C-suite and to the business units they serve, as well as to the larger community. And a big part of what we do at In the House is try to help and support GCs to achieve a higher level of leadership and to ensure the trust and respect of the C-suite. So Stefanie, I love having you here to speak to this audience because I think general counsel, like many lawyers, don't spend that much time thinking about marketing and branding and their own personal brand and what that means. So I'd love to just pass the baton off to you and have you share some of your insights, especially as they relate to general counsel and other in-house lawyers.
Yeah, I'm happy to. So I want to thank you guys all, and I will give you an abbreviated version of the slides, but my only request is you have to link in with me in order to get those. I'm going to make everyone use LinkedIn. I'll probably be talking the most about LinkedIn today because it's so important. I wanted to ask everyone, how many of you have a LinkedIn profile? Is everyone? Okay. How many of you would consider yourself a beginner when it comes to LinkedIn? Intermediate?
How do you define a beginner?
Well, so I would say you have a profile and you accept requests, and sometimes you send them. Intermediate would be you use LinkedIn in a meaningful way, you have all-star status, and then advanced would be you use the featured section, you have a custom header image, you have a custom headline, you're posting content. So that I would say there's 3 levels. Everyone should be an expert in LinkedIn. I also believe that everyone should have more than 500 connections on LinkedIn. And I'll always say it's more important it's about the quality, not the quantity. But once you get to 501, all it says at the top is 501 plus connections. And that is really an important benchmark to reach. I know that every person here knows more than 500 people who are on LinkedIn. So I'm going to be giving you guys some homework at the end. And again, it's up to you to do it or not. There are just some suggestions. And I worked in-house at law firms for about 20 years. So I was at Paul Weiss, Sullivan and Cromwell, Mayer Brown, Morrison and Foerster, Proskauer. And then I was the CMO of a mid-sized firm in New York City called Tarter Krinsky Drogin. And I went off and started a business about 7 months ago. So, and I'm finding actually to be very busy because I've been telling everyone how important online networking is, and you guys obviously understand that because you're here. But in terms of social media and in terms of building your brand online, I have been extolling the virtues of this for many years, and now we have no other choice but to use social media and content to build our brands. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen. If you can't see it, oh, it's disabled.
Yes, I need to empower you to share your screen. Sorry,
I promise I won't Zoom bomb or put anything up there that's inappropriate. I was telling Chris a story. One of my friends is a private school teacher at an affluent school in New York City, and the 9th graders Zoom bombed the 5th graders, and this is happening all over the place. So.
Not as bad as some of the stories I've heard about a professor whose links came up when he was doing his Zoom class and had some inappropriate websites noted on there.
Oh no! There was that woman who was I think she was going to the bathroom on a Zoom. There's just some crazy things going on. All right, so let me go to my PowerPoint. Can everybody see this?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm going to go to the slideshow. I'm going to go very fast through things because I actually am going to go through LinkedIn itself and show you a few things that I think are cool. Okay. Okay. You guys can see the slide. It says 6 feet on it.
No.
No,
Right,
well,
we
we're
see
seeing
your-
Zoom. It says,
This is what it says, Zoom.
Oh, that's weird. Okay, let me try again.
you might need to switch windows. I think you have the wrong
Oh
window.
yeah, what is it that you're sharing? Are you sharing your desktop or?
Hang on. Can you see a slideshow?
No, I think you ended up, I'm going to stop your sharing. Stephanie, I think you shared the whole desktop rather than just the PowerPoint part.
Oh, cool. Well, I have
Yeah.
nothing inappropriate on my desktop. I want everyone to know that.
We'll take that as a given.
Okay, can you see my screen now?
Yes, there you go.
Yes.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, cool. So I'm going to talk about marketing. Again, like, I present a lot to lawyers in-house who are, at law firms, but these messages I spoke to an in-house counsel group not that long ago. Everything applies to all of you, right? One of the most important things we can all do right now is be helpful to people and build relationships. And I keep saying to everyone that we must pivot everything that we've been doing, and especially when it comes to personal branding, because there are a lot of things that people were posting that really weren't appropriate on social. I'm finding that the companies and individuals who are doing marketing really well are empathetic and showing empathy. Okay. And everything we post right now is going to be about adding value. So for those of you who don't post content on LinkedIn, so a lot of people ask me on which channel should I be? You should be on LinkedIn. I think the lines between personal and professional are getting blurrier every day. So I will get people say to me, should I accept friend requests from people I work with, colleagues, clients, etc., my outside counsel on Facebook and Instagram? And you have to use your own judgment when it comes to that. So one of the things you should know is if you accept somebody on Instagram, they can see everything. You can limit who sees your stories. On Facebook, there's audience selectors that enable you to limit future posts to certain people and put people in certain categories. So there's something to be said for that. Now, it's a personal choice on whether you'd want to be friends with someone, but the lines are getting blurrier, particularly since COVID. I would say Twitter for most of you is a non-starter. If you want to talk about Twitter, I'm happy to talk with you about it. I find it very difficult to build a following. I pretty much use it for an aggregator of different news sources, right? So if I don't want to write my own article and share it, I'll share something from another publication, such as the Harvard Business Review, Forbes, Fortune, Inc., the New York Times. There's a lot of really good publications and niche publications as well. So that's what I share, and everything I share has value to, hopefully. And I've become much more focused with everything I share. I don't know any lawyer who is a generalist from soup to nuts and who can do everything from litigation to employment to M&A to ERISA, right? There is no one. So finding your own focus. I'm a marketer who can do everything, but people know me as being someone who's very focused on social media, and that's okay with me. Okay, so one of the things that I find that many lawyers do is that you guys perfect things. You have problems not tinkering with things. And what this sometimes does is lead to you missing the boat, missing an opportunity, right? So a piece of content that you push out, or rewriting your bio over and over again, or making changes to your LinkedIn profile, I find a lot of people just sit on it because they want to go back and just reread it and edit it again. And I would just tell you that your good is good enough. And I would encourage you to push it out. And I would say that time is of the essence, particularly if you're writing about anything related to the pandemic. Okay, one of the things I want you all to remember is on social media, there are a lot of people using social in what I call invisible only mode. So people are looking at you on Google all the time. They're looking up you on LinkedIn, but they're not necessarily engaging with the things that you post. So that's why don't be discouraged about the number of like, comments, or shares that you receive. One of my clients is he's an in-house counsel, and he said to me, well, I posted something about, he works with autistic kids, and he's like, I only got 6 likes, and maybe I put myself too out there. And I said, no, be confident, be yourself, And it's okay. The number of like, comments, and shares doesn't give you the full scope of the success of a post. And also there's other analytics on LinkedIn that are available to you all, which are the number of impressions and engagement with a post. So there's, it's not, I just want you to know that social media success is a lot more than just the number of like, comments, and share. So I mentioned before that I use some other content tools, third-party publications, to help me come up with ideas. So if you're ever having trouble trying to figure out what should I post, obviously you can share things from your company, okay? But you can also curate. So that is finding an interesting article about, something in the New York Times, something in a HR-related publication, technology publication, Forbes, etc. What I recommend is that you always read the article from start to end, and that you make sure that there is nothing really highly politically charged in anything. I just find staying away from politics in general right now is a good thing. I also highly recommend that you all use hashtags, and I will talk about that in a little bit. It will help you and your content be found. I also recommend that you dedicate certain social media posts to other people. So congratulating someone on an award win, highlighting a connections article, those sorts of things. Those will build relationships. And listen, you all are in great jobs, I'm sure, but the time may come when you are looking for another job. So this is why it's so important, or thinking about going off on your own or going back to private practice, whatever it may be. That's why it's so important to cultivate your network and stay top of mind. And many of you may say, well, why should I even post anything on LinkedIn? Isn't it enough to have a profile? No. Because right now you want to be top of mind with people. And the best way to do that is for you to show up in their newsfeed with interesting information that's helpful. Okay?
Hey, Stephanie, can I jump in with a quick comment on one thing I've seen during this last couple of months is there have been an increasing number of general counsel who are posting on LinkedIn. And one thing I think it's really great is we should all follow our fellow general counsel. So when you see a general counsel on LinkedIn, even if you feel like it would be too pushy to introduce yourself and say, hey, I'm a GC at another company, let's connect. Some people will be fine with that. But even if you don't do that, you could just click the follow button, right? And then when I do that, usually 5 minutes later, I get a request to connect or a follow back or both. And so that's a really easy thing to do. And when I comment on something another GC has posted, I really get a nice response. I say like, well, that was a great initiative, diversity initiative at your company, congratulations, or whatever the topic is. And I think GCs don't always get the recognition they deserve. So they really appreciate that positive feedback from their peers. So I've just noticed an uptick in general counsel activity on LinkedIn. So thanks. I didn't mean to interrupt your flow.
It's okay. I find that also, like, people ask me, do I need to know the person? And I say, somebody asked me yesterday, do I need to know them well? I was on a New York City Bar Association Zoom like this. And I said, no, you don't necessarily. You shouldn't necessarily accept things from people who are close to you. I'm hearing a dog bark. Chris, I don't know if you can maybe mute folks.
Let me see. I can try to scroll through everybody and see.
That's mine. I'll mute her.
Yeah,
okay. I have a dog too. He is snoring.
Or maybe mute your computer,
him,
not your dog.
All right. So again, I mentioned good enough is good enough. I'm going to skip through a few things because these aren't applicable to you. But, again, just be sensitive right now. I don't like people posting things that are too self-congratulatory. How are you is a really great thing to do, and just be cognizant of what's going on. So I'm going to skip over this, and I mentioned this already. Always be helpful. It's the most important thing. Make sure every piece of content you post, it serves a strategy. Email's really great. Let me go into some other things. These are more for lawyers. So, lawyers who are at law firms. Okay, let's talk about a few things here. Why use social media? Your name is your brand. People are Googling you, and LinkedIn is likely where they're going to go versus maybe your company bio. Some of you may not have bios on your company website, so that underscores the importance of LinkedIn. LinkedIn is so easy to be in touch with people. I'm finding that, listen, I don't even know what day of the week it is usually lately. People are on LinkedIn all the time on the weekend. Like, I used to say that there was a good time to post on social, and it used to be during commuting hours. I still find that posting in the morning is very good, and also posting at night. But here's the problem with LinkedIn. There's no algorithm or way you can get all of your people who are connected to you to see everything you post. It's simply not going to happen because people's news feeds change all the time, and the times in which they go on LinkedIn is very different, right? I can't even underscore for you the power of social right now to stay connected. I mean, just the same way you're all on this Zoom, I hope you're all going to connect with each other on LinkedIn, and myself if you're not already connected. This is how we build relationships now. You never know who could be a potential client, referral source, employee, employer. Who knows? And I'm also single, so I'm trying to meet Andrew Cuomo, and I keep mentioning this. If anyone has any connection to him, you never know. That's why I'm always mentioning, that's why I'm doing this Zoom. I'm just kidding. And it helps you keep yourself top of mind. Okay, so why LinkedIn? Trust me that everyone's on LinkedIn. It is the top Google search result for you, and it gives you great reasons to reach out to people. So what do I mean by that? The notification section, I'm going to show you in a minute on my LinkedIn. It's the little bell on the top right. That tells you when someone got a new job, celebrated a work anniversary, or something like that. Those are great reasons to reach out to someone with whom you haven't been in touch for 10, 20 years. And the other thing I'll say is most people don't send like a V card anymore when they get a new job. And people are still moving jobs right now. So it's up to you to do the due diligence to find out where they've gone, and LinkedIn is where they're posting. So it would be so easy if you haven't been in touch with someone in 5, 10 years and you see that they got a new job, you can say, hey, Jim, congratulations, or hey, I can't believe you've been at that firm for 5 years, etc. How do you network effectively on an online basis and build your brand? Okay. I was mentioning this in the beginning, but there are 3 essential building blocks of LinkedIn. One is your profile. Most people do this okay. You want to get to all-star status. It will help also with your search results on LinkedIn. You want to also make sure you're using keywords throughout your profile. I'll show you my profile. We'll talk about it, and I'm actually going to show somebody else's profile here too. You want to make sure that you use keywords and fill out all the areas, okay? One of the biggest mistakes I see that people make on LinkedIn is they only put their most recent job. And for example, if I was in-house counsel at Disney for the last 5 years, what about the rest of my professional history? We definitely want to put in former law firms at which you were, because you'll want to join the alumni networks of those firms. You will also want to put any other experience that you had prior to law school, perhaps, that is applicable. So if you were an intellectual property lawyer, you probably were, at a law firm, and you probably also were an engineer or a physicist, chemist, whatever it is. Those are all applicable. I think it's very important. Like, I work with a client who's been practicing law for 25 years, but he went off on his own and started his own firm about 10 years ago. So it looks like he's only been practicing for 10 years and he doesn't have his dates of graduation from his school, from his undergrad and law school. Big mistake. Connections, who you know. Okay, I've been told, I am not a plant person. I have been told when you have a plant, you need to water it in order for it to not die. My plants die all the time. My top Google search is how to not kill an orchid. So don't send me any sort of plant life because I will kill it. In the same way, LinkedIn is so important. It's like a garden. You can't just set up a profile and be passive. You have to be active. You have to accept requests and also send them, okay? And then participation. That's what I was talking about earlier. The news aggregator sources, writing something of your own. Obviously get approval from others at your firm, your company or your firm if you want to publish something on LinkedIn. Every company usually has a social media policy. So the participation is what I talked about, how you stay top of mind. Okay. How do I get all-star status? So if you have it, there'll be a little button on your profile. Also, one of the #1 questions I get about LinkedIn is, do I need a premium profile? The answer is no, unless you're going to be prospecting a lot. You want to send messages to people who you don't know, or you're job searching. I have an old grandfathered version of LinkedIn Premium that is very inexpensive, but now the prices have skyrocketed. So I don't recommend that you do that. Cultivate your network. So send requests and accept the ones. A lot of people have requests that they've never even looked at, and I can show you where they live. Fill out all the sections. So there's sections on your LinkedIn profile, including your skills, your accomplishments, your volunteer experience. You should fill those all out. Create a great headline. This is going to be part of your homework, but it's the most important line on your LinkedIn profile because it gets pulled into Google and it gets pulled into LinkedIn search results. I find that so many people do not optimize it. If you don't create your own, LinkedIn will take the your current position and use that as your title. For many of you, that could be Associate General Counsel at X company, General Counsel at X company, Partner at blank. Really boring, actually. You can spice it up so much more, and I'll show you how to do that. Add a cover image. Every one of you should have a custom LinkedIn cover image. This is that space at the very top that looks like a blue constellation if you don't customize it. So I can show you how to do that. When you're customizing it, I'm going to show you some examples of good ones, and I didn't put the bad ones in, but I should have. Be strategic about endorsements and skills. I don't recommend that lawyers endorse anyone. I don't recommend that you accept them either for the most part. Unless it's a client of yours, I would say, but then you need to be really careful about what you say and how you say it. Skills. Many people have the most ridiculous, they've been endorsed for something, right? Or, the recommendations is what I was meaning before. Skills, maybe somebody recommended you for law. Well, by the way, I hope so, because you're all lawyers, right? That's a silly one. You may get recommended for an area of law in which you do not practice. You don't have to have that on there, and you can reorder those. And then participate in LinkedIn groups. I was of the mindset that LinkedIn groups had died for the most part, but now with COVID and with us not going to any in-person events for a very long time, LinkedIn groups have exploded. So you're all members of this group, right? On LinkedIn. Kudos to you. Be active. Post things as well. Again, you don't want to post content on your regular LinkedIn feed. You certainly can interact with the individuals in this group. Chris, do you guys have a pretty robust LinkedIn group for the group?
Yes. So for In the House, it's almost too big in some ways. So I don't want to get too into the inside baseball, but we used to have a parent and several child groups, and then LinkedIn sort of unilaterally severed that. So now we have a cluster of groups that together add up to about probably 35 to 40,000 in-house lawyers. So it's the very large groups. And they are getting more active, and I'm getting a lot more requests to join.
Good. Okay. So if you're not a member, be a member. Again, it's not enough to just be a member. Everyone should join their alumni network groups, right? Former law firms. I used to manage the Sullivan Cromwell alumni group, the Proskauer one. They're robust. In addition to the regular alumni portal that they'll send you with a website link, there's LinkedIn groups. You join. You'll get in touch with people with whom you haven't been in touch in years. Same thing for undergrad school, former law firms, even defunct law firms. So Bingham McCutcheon has an incredibly robust LinkedIn group. I worked at a defunct firm as well. I am a member of all of the firms at which I've worked. You usually have to request access to those, but definitely do so. Okay. And a few other LinkedIn essentials. Keep your profile basics updated. So I was just talking to one of my clients, and we realized that his former law firm was his email address. Go in there, check your email address. Don't make it hard for people to find you, or they will stop looking for you. Keywords are key. Use keywords that describe what you do. Also, make sure when you write your profile, and also, by the way, because in Google and in LinkedIn search, I may be looking for an employment counsel, or just typing in Disney employment counsel, and you want your name to come up, okay? Only use professional photos. First of all, you all should have a LinkedIn profile photo. Second of all, you all should have a headshot. I hope you do. If you don't, I have a trick for you, which is that you can take your photo, and actually now I have on my phone, I have a number of apps. One that I love is Face app. And what it does is you can strip out a background and give yourself a professional background. So you can take a photo of yourself in a garden and then just strip it out and make it look like a professional headshot, okay? And then
Is
branch
that
your
how to
profile.
do it? Because that would be really useful.
Yeah, I can show you how to do it.
Yeah. So if what I meant was you don't have to do it right now, but if we figure out a way how we can get it to this group, because I think stuff like that becomes very tactical, useful information. You don't
Yeah,
have
so I'll show you, I can show you also, if you guys look, I have an article about this that I can send you all the link
Perfect.
to.
to send us a few of those things and we'll share that with this group.
Yeah, I'll do that. Basically, if you guys can see my screen right now, this photo, do you see it? I put a gray background. Also, I was a brunette. I'm not a natural blonde, you can see. But this photo was from a party, okay? So that's what I'm saying you can do, and I think that's
What's the name of that app again, Stephanie?
It's called Face App. You can also make yourself look younger, too.
I'm going to put that in the
nice.
chat window now.
Let me show you guys what it's called. So this is what it looks like. Can you see my phone? Sorry.
No, yeah.
Wait, hang on.
Yeah, we're not seeing it clearly.
Wait. You see the one that says Face App?
Yeah, it looks like someone with like a rainbow on their face, sort of.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Okay.
The other thing is, please have a current photo. I know a lot of us have changed our appearance over the last 10, 15 years, but aging is okay. And you want to make sure you look like what you really look like in real life. So I always tell lawyers to make sure, and you know what, going bald is okay. So just embrace what you look like now. You look like you have gravitas, right? In the background photo, I'm going to show you that in a minute. Okay. Contact information. Make sure you also have a link. If you have a website bio, link it there. Your vanity URL. I will show you how to do this. One of the most important things you can do. And a lot of you are going to have company signatures. I understand that. But if your company allows you to put your LinkedIn URL to your LinkedIn profile, you should. That will encourage people to connect with you. Okay?
Hey, Stephanie, just a note on time. We have about 15 minutes left, so I don't know how much material you need to get through.
I'm going to go really fast.
Okay.
Make sure you shut off your profile sharing. So sharing profile edits should be off. Your profile viewing options, I like to be anonymous. The default is completely public. So if you're going to be researching people, make sure that you go in and change this. And you can do it from your mobile and you can do it from your regular phone, your computer, sorry. This is your profile URL. So the way you do it is you go to the top, you see where it says edit public profile URL. You click on that little pencil. It will, if you haven't had it updated, it will have a bunch of gobbledygook in your name and extraneous characters. Delete all of those, delete the space between your name. If your name is something like Jim Smith, I'm sorry, it's probably taken. But if you add your middle initial and ESQ at the end, you should be good. Then just save it. Okay, LinkedIn cover images. This is very important. Don't steal images off the internet. You're lawyers, you know better than that, but you'd be surprised how many people do this. Chris mentioned to me Unsplash, which is a website that has royalty-free and already licensed images. I use Canva because Canva also has this and they resize it for you. The images on the top right, one of them were, you can also use a picture you've taken. 2 caveats. Don't use a picture of a place you went on vacation just because you like the sunset. And then another thing, I've seen people put their favorite football teams or baseball teams. That's great that you're a Jets fan, but it's not, if you don't work for the NFL or the Jets, it's not appropriate, okay? So also, you don't necessarily have to use your company logo, but I just show you the example of Perkins Coie. I think Perkins Coie is too big, to be honest. And do you see everyone has an optimized headline here? That's that line where it says, helping lawyers become better revenue generators. Partner at Perkins Coie, focused on IP, technology, etc. I use these breaks. It's the, if you hit the shift key right above the backslash, it gives you the break line, and I like using those. It will cut you off at 150 characters. I just want to show you how important your LinkedIn profile is. When I was in-house, you'll see that my bio was number 1. Look what's number 2, and look how it pulled in my LinkedIn headline, okay? All right, I am gonna skip all of this, and I actually don't need to show you anything on LinkedIn because I pretty much went through it all, but I wanted to give you time to ask questions and anything else you want to talk about.
So Stephanie, can I jump in with one comment and then one question? So one comment is, most of the people on this call reside on the cost center of their businesses because they work in legal departments. There's going to be a lot of turmoil on the cost side of companies. People will probably need to find new jobs. So either some people on this call, I hope not, but may, and certainly some of your friends will be looking. So one thing that's really important about LinkedIn is it is completely the place where the recruiters hang out. So if you may need to be on the radar of recruiters, if you can check a box, you could figure out how to do it, just Google it. And Stephanie, you are intentionally flipping through stuff, right? So Stephanie?
Yes, okay.
Oh, okay, I want to make sure
guys,
that wasn't happening inadvertently.
No, that's okay. Can you guys see my screen again?
Yes.
Okay, I want to show you two things. There's a new section on LinkedIn that you should all use, which is the featured section. This is right below your headline. So you can pin different items to your LinkedIn profile,
Right.
Things that you posted, things that you want to appear. You can have as many as you want, and you can also delete them if you want, okay? So check out this thing. LinkedIn Stories is coming, which is really interesting. It's like it's like Facebook and Instagram stories.
Mm-hmm.
I always do this, guys, when I don't know a person. I do the I don't know them, and if you get 10 of those in a month, you get dinged from sending requests. I just want to show you one other quick thing. Also, you can do like, celebrate, love, curious. They're silly, but just that they're there. Okay, I want to show you homework really quickly. Set up a Google alert for yourself if you don't have one. You absolutely should. It's free. Set up a Google alert for any of your competitors that you want to track, maybe and also your CEO, perhaps also another law firm or the law firms you use. Use LinkedIn. Reach out to people on LinkedIn. Create a strong headline and cover image. Update your bio and your LinkedIn profile. And then the book I would recommend that you all read is Never Eat Alone by Keith Ferrazzi. There's a lot of online networking tips in there and also in person, but it's still worth a read. Okay, remember I was going to show you all a trick? So sorry, I lied that I was done. Can everyone take out their phones if you have the LinkedIn app? And when you go to the main search bar, this only works on the LinkedIn app, by the way. So you go to the main LinkedIn search bar, and do y'all see where it has these three squares and the X, which I've shown here in the middle? Okay, click on that. I bet most of you have never clicked on that. Do you all see a scan? Hold up your phone to my QR code. In this whole new world, guys, of contactless interaction, this is king. Do you see what happens? You get pulled up to my LinkedIn profile. Connect with me, please. But if I've done this when I've given presentations, and it's been terrific in terms of getting a lot of people to, you always should put this on any PowerPoint you do. I also think it could be on business cards. And I think particularly as we go back to in-person networking, no one's shaking hands anymore. No one's taking anyone's business card. I'm not Cloroxing your business card, but I certainly will scan your QR code. If you want to produce your own, do you see where it says my code? Click on that and you save it to your camera roll and then email it to yourself.
Yeah. And Stephanie, that's all stuff. That's all stuff you do on the phone app, not on the website, correct?
Yes, you have to do this on your mobile, and it's available to smartphone and Android iPhone and Android users.
Great.
Okay, that is my trick for you.
I did that because I had to go get my phone. Can
How did you get to
there
that?
be like a summary or something for this so I can?
Yeah, I have an
Sally,
article, guys. I'll put it in the chat. It's
Sally,
really
I can
easy,
show you
guys.
offline too, because we only
Yeah,
have
I'll
a
show you.
few
So you
minutes
just
left.
go to those 4 little buttons on the top here, click on that, and you'll get
It says search. Near the search, there's 4 buttons. And it says scan and one says my code.
Yep.
Oh, okay, I got it. Oh,
Did anyone know about it before?
I had no idea until you told me.
Wait, did everyone learn something today?
Yes.
Yes.
Somebody had shown it to me and I was like, give me a business card. She's like, no longer business cards. This was also a marketing person. And she said, okay, I will scan your code or you scan my code. And then you just get it like this. It's pretty cool.
It's very cool. So Stephanie, thank you so much. We just have a couple of minutes left. Really great information you conveyed. I wanted to ask a question, and any other people could. I'm curious because I think traditionally in-house lawyers have kind of relied on their company brand to sort of, I guess, reflect on their own career. So why should GCs and other in-house counsel have their own personal brand and not just depend on the brand of their sort of string of employers that they've had?
Yeah, well, I'll be honest. I think it's because just like you all probably went to law school and thought you wanted to make partner at a law firm, we throw everything out the door right now. The idea that you're going to stay at a job for 10, 15, 20 years, I would say that's not the reality, particularly in today's economic climate. I don't like aligning myself too much with my own company personally, because you just never know what can happen. So I think you have to plan for the future. You may decide to go in private practice again. You want to cultivate your connections. Now, I'm not saying if you work at, like, my sister-in-law works at Viacom, her LinkedIn profile image is Viacom. That's great. She loves her company. You certainly can pivot and change it. You don't have to keep it up the whole tenure. The thing is, the company at which you are right now is just one part of your journey, your whole professional journey. So I would say you want to do a combination of building your own brand that is separate from your company.
That's a very good point. So we have 5 minutes left. Does anybody else have a question they want to ask?
I've got a question.
Oh, sorry.
Go on. No, so Stephanie, what's your view on accepting invitations, LinkedIn invites from people who are, looking for their own business, like consultants and things, and people you don't know? Because I've actually been hesitant to do that, and I've been building the LinkedIn, my numbers, but I've tried to limit it to people who I've actually come across in business, or I have something in common with and interests, professionally. But when you get those random from people who you have no idea why they're really connecting with you other than to add to theirs, what do you think about when you accept them?
So I get these all the time. Like, somebody said, do you want to start a Dunkin' Donuts franchise? No, I don't. I mean, like, Stephanie, have you thought about chat bots? I don't even know what a chat bot is, right? So I say use discretion, Randolph. So I would say go look at their background.
Randy's fine.
And just see what they did, what they're doing. Look at their backgrounds, see if it makes sense. For the most part, I decline those.
Okay.
I do, but you know what I'll do? I'll go one step further, and I do that thing where I'll go report the person. Like, I don't know. I don't know this person, and that sends a note back to LinkedIn.
I'll get 10 or 20 a week on, somebody looking to do sales consultants for legal sources and legal work, or legal IT work. And although we have interests in that, and I look into all of that, I don't want to connect with every one of them, because then also their emails and connections will not stop trying to get the business.
And it seems like the wrong time. Like, I've been getting tone deaf emails and requests during the pandemic, and it really turns me off personally. Yeah. So use discretion on those. Look to see if their background would be helpful to you. Otherwise, no one, by the way, gets a note that you didn't accept, that you declined. If you delete someone, no one ever knows. You can also block somebody. You can unfollow someone, which means you're still connected, but you don't have to see their annoying posts in your feed. There's a lot of things you can do.
Yeah, it's by the way, that I get a lot of those unsolicited requests. Sometimes it'll seem like someone interesting, and I'll say yes, and then 2 minutes later I'll get like a pitch of something.
That's exactly right.
I just instantly delete them at that point, because there's no point engaging with them or telling them to leave you alone. Just delete them from your contacts.
Something that I do is I take a look at people I may know in common with that person, right? So when you get the invite, you can look at their profile and see if you have connections in common. And then if the people that we have in common are people who are, actually people I know and are, reputable people, then I might accept it, even though I don't know the person.
That's a good point.
Stephanie, what do you think about that?
Some electronic hands that are up. So we have Richard Given has an electronic hand up. Do you want to ask a question?
Sure. Well, I was going to a couple of comments. First of all, I think the association of mutual friends is a good idea, but it's dangerous as well. I had I've just put a link in the chat of an article that a former CIA guy wrote, a friend of mine, about phishing, and I had a phishing exercise against me of someone who was apparently at Citibank, and a whole lot of people I do know had connected with them, and I made a point of ringing up them and going, "Who is this guy?" And they go, "Oh, I don't know, I just connected with him." Turned out to be not a human being at all. It was a complete phishing farm. I think just on the comment about the QR codes, I've not seen the LinkedIn one, but I've seen many times people have created their own QR code of their shortened LinkedIn profile. So when you click on it, you don't have to have the app. You go straight into the web page of your profile, so you can do it one removed. You don't need to be using to scan it through the app. I'm nervous of connecting with people I don't know, because I think your associations, and I want to know what your view on this, your associations are a reflection of your brand as a person. And I think that there's, depending on what role you perform in an organization, clearly if you're in comms or in sales, there's an obvious reason why you might be connected with more people. But I think as a lawyer, there's a value in being a little bit more reticent about the extent to which you're prepared to connect with people. I don't know if people would agree with that, or maybe that's just me being British.
Yeah, I think it's personal, and I think that it's up to you to use your discretion, like we said. I don't think that any of the, I know people who don't ever send their own requests and just respond to them. I would say that's a mistake. And also, by the way, so Richard, the whole idea of like the QR code, it's kind of like the 8-track. I feel like it never really took off and kind of disappeared. But I do see most people don't have the sophistication to build their own like that. And so I think at least the LinkedIn one, to me, is just a great way to build your network really quickly. So I wanted to at least show you all how to use that.
Yeah, it feels a little retro, but LinkedIn is kind of the 8-track of social media in a way. So, but that's why lawyers are comfortable with it, I think.
But it's the most important one, and it's the one that's
Facebook's
professional. I see a question in here from someone asking about, is there a value to business lawyers to join Instagram? Here's my thought on this. It is only of value if the people you're trying to reach are on that platform. I see firms like Sullivan and Cromwell trying to be on all of these platforms. They tried to do, what is that one, Snapchat, and it failed miserably, right? Like, it just, don't be on every platform just because you think that they're, popular with people. It depends who you're trying to reach. If you're a divorce lawyer, Instagram can be awesome, because you also have to know how to use hashtags. I didn't get into hashtags today, and I really would like to at another point. They're so important for your content. Depends on what you do and who you do it for and where they are.
Right, like maybe an entertainment lawyer like your friend at Viacom, that might make sense to be on Instagram.
Labor and employment lawyers, I mean, the success that you're going to have on Instagram will be related to hashtags and the images you use. It's a very image-focused platform, and you can't use the same image that you create on every, you have to create a different size. It's very easy to do it if you have someone who knows how to do it. But I would say just focus on the platforms that make the most sense. And LinkedIn, for you guys, to me, is the most important one.
Right. And so we're almost out of time, but I saw Barbara Johnson, you had raised your hand electronically. Did you have a question?
I do have a quick question. Thank you very much for the presentation, first of all. But if you post something and you get a lot of responses, a lot of comments, how important is it to respond to each of those? I've heard differing views. I posted something, and just trying to keep on top of all of the comments, was a lot. So I don't know, how important do you think that is?
Okay, so I think it depends on your goals. So if you are someone who is trying to maybe be well known in your area, I think it is important, because the more you comment on the post, the higher it'll move up in LinkedIn's algorithm as well, which is important to note. Okay, so it just means it's a hot topic. LinkedIn does this really cool thing where it gives so when you post an item to LinkedIn's editors make a determination within the first hour or two if your post is actually content worthy. And the more likes you get and the more comments you get in a certain period of time in the beginning, then it gets flagged to LinkedIn as saying we should highlight this piece. So that's why some pieces just like fall by the wayside, or you'll get very little engagement. The ones where their comments are not the case. So the more you can comment back and tag the person in the, you just have to hit reply and it'll automatically put their name in the post. When you tag a person, you either use the @ and then write their name out, and then you'll see that their name will turn a different color, which means that they're tagged in that post, which is very helpful to do. They get a notification. So the more you engage with people who might make comments, the better off your post will continue to be highlighted. Does that make sense?
That does. Thank you. That's very helpful.
Yeah. So if you're lucky to get one that has a lot of comments, right back.
Chris, there's a trick for you here, I think, on the in-house, which is that actually you can actually purposefully engineer a thunderclap which is when you want to post something in the house up, you actually preload a whole load of people to say, this is coming at this time Eastern, could you be alive, and would you mind commenting on it quickly? Because what you're doing is you're playing the algorithm, and I've seen that happen corporately as well, where something gets legs because they've purposely set it up to give it that impetus in the first hour.
Oh, yeah. So Richard, most of the big law firms, and I'm sure corporations do this, where like, so for my clients, I'll write a post and then I'll post it and I'll send a note to everyone there and I'll say, listen, here's some text for you to share it. And then here are some hashtags. It's great if you ever are at a smaller company, but you want people to personalize the text. I worked at Morrison Foerster, and about 600 employees sent out the same note almost at the same time, which is the opposite of having a good impact on that.
Yeah.
Oh, people ask me all the time, what's the most powerful? Like, commenting, or sharing a post? Sharing a post is the most powerful. That's the best likelihood that it'll go into people's feeds. Liking, not really, unless other people do it. Commenting will build a relationship with that person and will help, like Barbara asked, will get that post to be more visible in that person's network.
So Stefanie, real quick, because we're basically out of time. When you say sharing, for anyone that doesn't know, does that mean that when you ask someone to share a post of yours and they do share it, does that mean it goes to all of the feeds of all their connections? Is that the deal?
Sort of, but again, like I said, there's no way to know if it reaches, like there's no way to blanket if you have 600 connections, you can't send a post to 600
Got it. So
right?
but it's more like a megaphone as opposed to
it goes into their feed and they may like it or see it. Yes. It depends on so many different things, like the setting, you guys can change the setting of if you see top or recent on your news feed. You can change that, and it also has to do with a number of other factors regarding the time of day. I still do believe that the morning is the best time, and evening commute, traditional commuting time when people are stopped working. Also take into consideration time zones. If you have clients in California or clients or constituencies in London, you'll want to post things at their time. There's different programs that will enable you to schedule posts as well.
Well, this is the least favorite part of my job. I have to end the call now, so I'm really sorry. This was wonderful, Stefanie. Great advice. Anyone that needs to find me, you can reach me at chris@inthehouse.org. You can see our website, which is inthehouse.org. Connect with me on LinkedIn. I'm easy to find. Stefanie, wonderful. It sounds to me, given all the great questions, that people wouldn't mind having you back for a future In the House meeting. If people agree, give a shout out, and we'd love to have you back if you're open to that.
Thank you. I put 2 articles here, and I'll send Chris the articles so y'all can have them and some of the slides as well. And if anyone wants any help, just holler at me. Definitely link in with me because I post a lot of content that I hope is helpful to you. It's
great. And I see Charlie Garland just posted, do ask your friends specifically to like, share, etc.
Yeah.
It's really effective. You just say, please do me a quick favor, please just share this, click on the share button, and you'll get a much better response when you ask a specific question. So
yeah,
thanks,
I'm
Charlie.
finding, guys, since the pandemic, people are very happy to lend a hand with all of these sorts of things. And this is the time to build those relationships. So
Absolutely.
Do those things. Do the LinkedIn headline, build your network, and make sure you put all of your past positions in your profile.
And even though this marketing may not come naturally to in-house lawyers, this is now a part of leadership. So I think it's important to remember that to be a leader now, you have to be on these networks and you have to be participating.
And also, by the way, if you are on boards, volunteer organizations, that information is very powerful as well. So make sure that you have that kind of information in there, any leadership roles outside of your job, volunteer roles, pro bono, that sort of thing.
Well, Stefanie, this was, again, great. Thank you so much for your time today. Thanks, Nita, for your work on behalf of In the House. And thanks, David Slater, for being a great co-host of this Friday program. So thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everybody. It was great.
Bye. Take care. Yes, thank you. Wonderful.